Welcome to the Friday Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Friday Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Friday Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done.
It is Friday, and let's get things started and welcome you are on the Power Lunch. It's February 10th. You can believe that. We're heading into Valentine's Day, crossover, the Super Bowl. And I'm Katherine White here, your host, bringing you the guests, the issues, the action, fueling the grassroots community to get things done. And you know us, we like to make politics fun. So let's get to it. Today's theme, rise and fall together. And we have 8 great guests. And because we have so many, I'm just going to give them a shout out and they can wave because we will unpack each later, right? Lauren Victoria Burke, give a wave. Journalist, podcaster, crisis communications consultant, and founder of Black Virginia News, and much more. Friends, we have so much to talk about with Lauren. Thank you for being here. And Honorable Jay Jones, former delegate and founder of Meet Our Moment. And Jay is here, and he's on baby duty, so we know that, Jay, so don't worry. And also we have Sonia Vasquez Luna, Manassas City Council here. And thank you, you're alumni of the Meet Our Moment program. So we're so excited to hear from you. And another alum bringing it, RAE Cousins, candidate for HD 79. All right, I love it. Look at all these candidates. And then we're going to do a spotlight on Spotsylvania, talking about some teamwork, my friends, with Dr. Rita Daniels, Spotsylvania School Board, current member and running again. Thank you for that. We really need those school board positions covered, Rita, so thank you. And then Carol MEDAWAR, a friend of the Network Nova, well loved. We love Carol, candidate Spotsylvania School Board. Thank you for stepping up for those school boards. We got to make sure we cover ourselves for sure. And Ben Litchfield, he is running for Senate in District 27. Ben, give a wave. Thank you for being here. And I save the last for our pastor, our heart, our preacher from the Fredericksburg area, Joshua Cole. Thank you. Now running an HD 65. So good to see your smile, my friend. So good. All right. Remember how we run the show in the chat. Please put stuff in there. Let's communicate, but please keep it civil. Thank you for that. And then our favorite part of the show, the after chat. Please stick around for that. We love that. You can unmute, share your calls to action. We know crossover is going on. We have a lot of bills that we want to sort of make sure they don't pass. We want some bills we make sure they do pass. So get in that after chat. Some of our guests will stay with us, and we just love that part of the show. So thanks for that. And lastly, but the most really important to us is support our work. Well, become a patron. It's really great, getting that little money every month to pay for our Zoom and other things, for my lipstick, so my lips don't get dry. So yeah, for $5, $10, $15, you can support our show. And a special shout out to our latest patrons. We love getting those little hits. Georgia Fuller, if you're in the room, for coming back. Georgia's a silver panther. She writes postcards. Georgia, thank you for that. I saw you laughing, Jenny. Yes, I see you. And then also Mike, Burke, Kirby, and Blythe Merritt. Warms our heart. Thank you. Join them and become a patron. Okay, so got through the first part. I'm back. Fanel Norton, let's get to some conversation. My favorite part of the show is to talk to you. How are you doing, my dear friend?
I am doing just fine. How are you today, Katherine?
Well, I'm back here. I'm happy to be back. It's 6 degrees in Ohio, and it is 60 now. So speaking of pants, you don't need them. You can put some shorts on. But I did want to talk a little bit about what's happened in Virginia. I think we have some things that everybody in this room maybe is interested in. One is that we saw that we were able to make sure that some of Glenn Youngkin's appointments to certain boards did not pass and they didn't get confirmed, especially that health commissioner, that Colin Green, who didn't seem to understand how racism worked. And then we had a few people that Ginny Thomas tried to get, send a little, Clarence Thomas's wife, if you saw, send a little like, can you please support this candidate for the Virginia Board of Education? That didn't go over very well, I think. So we were able to make sure that our education system here in Virginia keeps out these kind of federal big kind of personalities, or kind of, when you have Ginny Thomas kind of weighing in on Virginia, Virginians don't like that, It's like Andrew Wheeler, big EPA guy, fossil fuel industry. We're not so interested. Virginia likes to do things in a different way. And I think trying to keep it civil and focused on the kids. So I was really glad to see that we were able to keep two people, one person off the education board and the parole board. We had another, so for me, it's all about, for now, watching the budget. So everybody in the room, this will be the biggest fight in Virginia, is between the House, Senate, and Youngkin's budget bill. That's where it really matters right now. Crossover will be kind of crazy till we see how the bills kind of stretch out, and we'll have calls to action. But truthfully, that budget where Youngkin wants all these tax cuts, like $1 billion. I don't know if you saw that, where he wants $1 billion cut, and then, also spending some money. And so Democrats have a different version. So I'm eyeballing that. So what are you thinking about?
Yeah. So I am sort of thinking about sort of the national view right now. And speaking of civility, I would just want to chat for a minute about the State of the Union. It was the kind of State of the Union where you actually needed to have some popcorn, because it was that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right? Who would have thunk it that you need popcorn for the State of the Union? But I will say that it is the people's house, and it is supposed to be a dignified place. And you would expect that there would be a level of decorum, but it was not. But what I would say is President Joe Biden really, really showed what experience and wisdom can do in that kind of situation. So we can all just relax now, because Social Security is here to stay. All the Republicans have agreed on that. So we can take that off of our plate. So I'm really excited about that. But there's two other things that I want to say, because we always talk about messaging and feeling good about what you can talk about. And I think that this time gave us an opportunity to really talk about things that matter to people every single day: credit card fees, fees for cable, fees for airline tickets, and just all of those messy things that sort of bug people all the time, that we've got a bill coming through that we need to address. And I think it's also really important. I didn't really know this, but like 200,000 really young people suffer with diabetes. And so it will really be important to expand that insulin bill. So these are things that happen, that we think about, that happen at your table, that you talk about, and the president really brought that to light. And then the last thing that I just want to mention is, the victim impact statements were really phenomenal, to just sort of highlight the kind of trauma that happens everywhere. It's not just national, it's at some of our back doors. And then what I thought was really interesting, a nugget for everybody, is sort of the pins and ribbons that people were wearing. I thought the 1870 pin was really significant, especially as we think about Black history. 26-year-old in 1870 was the first Black person that was actually killed by whatever the police officers were called back then. But what was really interesting is when you think about the anniversary of one of the schools recently that had one of the shootings, that Representative Andrew Clyde actually had pens that he was giving out of assault weapons that many Republicans on their lapels. So I just think that's some interesting things as you contrast Democrats and Republicans and the kind of message you do.
I mean, I look at just today, was it yesterday, when the gun bills all went to die that came over, all these gun safety bills for Virginia, even after we had this recent 6-year-old with a gun. And now it's a tit for tat. I mean, because they're mad because they said Senator Lucas didn't let them talk, and they're, in her committee. So Nick Freitas is not letting the Democrats talk about the gun bills. But a lot of people know those bills were never going to pass, never going to see, any kind of progress on that. And you have a party making pins of assault weapons. I just don't, we know what that means, and it's pretty ugly stuff. But hopefully we will see this budget come together in Virginia where, we will get some great things happening for the people. And that's why we do this work, right? This is why we're in this room, and this is why these people are running for office. So I'm really excited as we kind of transition over to our next segment that bringing up, we're celebrating Black history. And then our next guest, which I subscribe to that Black Virginia News. Thank you very much, Lauren. I'm excited to hear all the great stuff going on. So go ahead. I'll let it.
Wonderful. So thank you, Katherine. As we head into Black Virginia News, I also wanted to just chat for a minute about what we're going to do for Black History Month. And this time it's going to be an opportunity to learn. And so if you would bring up the slide for me, Robbin, that'd be awesome, of our Virginia House of Delegates and Senators. This is all of our Black African-American candidates and elected officials. And this is probably more than we have ever had in Virginia. And so this is in Black Virginia News, which is awesome. So we'll get to talk to Lauren about why she did this and why it's so important. But this is what the to-do is for Black History Month this week. It is to choose one of these candidates or electeds and find out something about them. So my choice was Nadarius Clark. He is the House of Delegates for HD 79. He won in 21. He's doing an amazing job. But here's what's interesting about Nadarius is that he is the youngest Democrat ever elected in Virginia Democratic Party. He's 29 years old. He's a millennial. And he's awesome. So you guys choose a person, someone who's elected or someone who is running, a candidate, and learn something about them. So that's your to-do for Black History Month for this week. And now if we'll bring up Lauren, we can have our fantastic conversation. Hi, Lauren.
How are you?
I'm doing very good. How are you?
Lauren, great. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Katherine, Stair, Robbin. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, wonderful. For those of you who might be just joining, Lauren Burke is the founder of Black Virginia News, but she is also the owner of Win Media. And I want to tell you about that because this is what I think is so fun about that. Part of the work that she does is crisis communications. So for those of you who don't know, Lauren is actually our Olivia Pope of Virginia.
Not a very good one, apparently.
No. So, Lauren, why don't you start by just talking a little bit about, I really do want you to talk about what you do in crisis communications, and then we'll get to Black Virginia News, which is one of the really important reasons that you're here, along with your
Well, the crisis management kind of led to the newsletter in a way. I get a lot of calls from people who have to deal with inaccurate information about themselves. I'm a person who has worked in politics and in the news business. My first real job in the news business was as Cokie Roberts' assistant, one of the best people I ever met at ABC News. At a time, she was doing NPR and ABC News. I learned a ton from her, to say the least. It was an incredible experience. But I've also worked in elected politics. My mother worked for a politician in New York. I grew up in New York, but my mother is from Virginia. So half my family's New York, the other half is from Virginia. And so basically what has happened over the years, the media, as I think we can all see with the naked eye, you don't need to be somebody who's worked at ABC News or USA Today, as I have to figure out that the media is really all over the place right now. We're going through a little bit of a crisis because the metrics of journalism, the business of journalism, have really dictated that clicks and clickbait is how you make money in the media. And because of that driving force, we come up with a lot of misinfo and disinfo. And also we have a political party who's driving misinfo and disinformation at a huge rate. It's very deliberate, and it's meant to create a political change and be disenfranchising. So with all of that said, all those driving factors and the fact that the demographics in this country are changing very quickly, Virginia, interestingly enough, is sort of a little bit behind some of these other southern states like Florida and Georgia. In a few weeks, we're going to have a historic moment. We're going to have, in all probability, Jennifer McClellan is going to be the first Black woman to be elected to Congress in Virginia. For a lot of states, that's already happened. And so Black Virginia News came out of just wanting to tell the story of some of these stories that, I can't believe I don't see in some of the mainstream press in Virginia and beyond, whether it be the Washington Post or the Richmond Times-Dispatch or the Virginia Pilot. I mean, we all can see that some of these papers are having economic difficulty, and they tend not to, when they have economic difficulty, they tend not to cover minority communities of any type, but particularly Black people. and Black people have this special challenge, I think, too, of always having to be in the situation where people are covering our community that are not from our community. So as somebody from New York, I spent a ton of time in Virginia when I was a little kid, but I did notice in New York that we have so many community papers for almost every community, oftentimes in different languages. Chinese that's not uncommon. We have some great independent Jewish newspapers in New York. My grandmother, once when you could buy a single family house, bought a large row house in Brooklyn in the Crown Heights section of New York. And there's an amazing set of specific press for that community. So I just think that, it's overdue. This is no slap in the face at all to what we already have. The Richmond Free Press is a historic paper based in Richmond, and the New Journal and Guide is a very historic paper in Norfolk run by Brenda Andrews, the oldest Black paper in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I hope to be doing some content sharing with them. The chart that you showed shows the historic number of Black people who are running for elected office this year, which I think is incredibly exciting. We had just 2 years ago, historic situation of 3 Black people running for governor of Virginia. And to me, it's not played up enough. It's not spoken of enough. This is going to be the new generation of elected officials, along with other groups in this Commonwealth that are coming up. So I'm going to be platforming, of course, focusing and centering the views of Black people, but I hope some people copy me for other communities. Certainly when you're not in the conversation and your views are not in the conversation, you don't see the type of news, and certainly women can certainly understand this. When you look at the history of some of these bigger papers, the New York Times, the Washington Post, it's shocking to find out when women first got into the newsroom. And, women's views were not represented well until very recently. So this is something I think is necessary, and that's why I'm doing it.
Well, we're really glad you're doing it. And this is what I think is really important. If we were having our conversation, I live on the Eastern Shore, little teeny tiny school community. Right. You cover just about every piece of Virginia that there is to cover. And you were traveling through the Eastern Shore. And what did you do? And what did you get to talk about?
Yeah, there was just a little food stand in Exmoor. My mother has some relatives in Salisbury, and to get to Salisbury, I have a house, me and my mother have a house in Suffolk. So I had to drive through Virginia Beach and go up the Eastern Shore to get to Salisbury, Maryland. But anyway, we stopped at a little Black food stand that had a little Black food truck, and I did a story on it. I do have a lot of people around the Commonwealth who send me stuff. I've worked in Congress and I've worked in state government in New York and Virginia, and as the comms director for Justin Fairfax. So we got to know everybody around the Commonwealth during that time. And they're sending me, a lot of people are sending stuff, photos, all sorts of stuff, Black people, white people, this and that, of stuff that they think is important. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in Southwest, as you know, that doesn't get any coverage. There's nobody knows it's happening. And so, I want to sort of shed a light on some of the things that these bigger papers that say they cover the Commonwealth don't really cover. So that's what I'm trying to really focus on.
Well, we really love it because this is what we have to do. This is getting information in people's hands so that they can really understand how it translates to them. So can you just talk about maybe one of the stories that you've done that you've thought was really important, especially for all audiences, but especially as a Black person that we would probably normally not hear about?
Well, actually, the thing that you just showed is a great example. I'm doing a series now of charts of just things that I thought existed that didn't exist. Now, I wasn't surprised that a chart of all the Black candidates didn't exist because there's so many and people are still filing. Since that chart came out, we've had 3 more Black people file. So it's like, it's a rolling thing. But I did come to understand there's no chart of just Black senators, either from Reconstruction or modern times, who have served in the state Senate in Virginia. And there's no chart of the House of Delegates members who've served. Now, if you go in the state capitol, they do have some historic charts that you pass in the hallway, but there's no big one chart of all the Reconstruction members and the modern day members. So I'm just doing that. I'm just doing basic stuff. And I check with the usual suspects, UVA and the Library of Virginia, to see if some of these things exist. But I just like it as a reference point when I'm writing. I like to be able to say that, Bobby Scott was the 4th Black senator, or whatever it is that I want to say in a sentence. That's kind of how it started. But also it does kind of give you some perspective if you're a member of the assembly, or if you're somebody who's a campaign manager and you're running a race, of where we stand historically, not just as African Americans, but just as people in general, as our history moves forward and it becomes more diverse in the country and in Virginia.
Well, I think that's really important. One of the things that I think we all struggle with is trying to figure out how to get people more civically engaged. And so newspapers, this whole digital world that we live in now is an opportunity for folks to sort of learn how stuff works. What are your thoughts about how you talk about that?
Well, civic engagement, of course, is huge. As you can see, we have a political party who's starting to fool around with the question of our history. There's another reason to do a newsletter specific to a certain group whose history has been oftentimes hidden. We have a concerted effort to try to hide certain history because it's either negative or really politically inconvenient. So I'm trying to sort of cover that, also, and sort of have some conversations. It's really hard. I've got like a standing commitment where I have a speech every year at a certain college where we talk about race with a group of journalism kids. And it's usually a bunch of white kids. And what we find when we're talking is there's really no forum to talk about race in a very constructive way. I mean, the media always sort of does it so we're having a collision with each other instead of having a deeper discussion with all the nuance that's involved. And I think that nuance is where the real story is at. So to talk about and address some of the things that frankly sometimes make us uncomfortable is, I think, where we really need to go and sort of get past the peripheral level on some of these issues.
I am so glad to hear you say that, because some of the conversations are uncomfortable. I listened to someone recently and he said to discuss the undiscussable. Right. And so I think that's where we are. And so we've got a great place to get that from in Black Virginia News. I also want to just talk for a minute about your podcast, because I think that's important too. So can you chat a little bit about the Burke File? I've listened to some of the stuff you've done and you don't pull any punches. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I talk about communication strategy a lot. I've got a lot of friends that are in communication strategy. It happens to be, I think, a disproportionate number of Black women involved in communication strategy. And frankly, a disproportionate amount of women, period. It is one of the hardest jobs right now in any space in politics. I tell my elected friends all the time that it's not your chief of staff that's the most important person, it's your communications director, because it's a 24/7 job, a never ending. The way that defamation law works in this country is that if you're an elected official and somebody says something untrue about you, it's very difficult to undo that effectively. Elected official really has no legal recourse, to be blunt. I won't go down into the weeds on that, but basically social media has sort of driven a situation where there's a lot of inaccuracy that's sort of thrown out there. So I try to, on that podcast, talk about communication strategy, but quite frankly, it's kind of on hiatus because I've got a bunch of people trying to convince me to put it behind a paywall and make it into a course, which is what I'm working on. So it's a little bit complicated, but I have a lot of other friends in communications that are all over the government and the Biden administration, and they're unbelievable, a lot better than I am. So I'm getting a lot of advice from them.
I think that's really funny that you say that. But what I always think is that the folks who are the best are the ones who sort of step away, and then you really get to see the grassroots, see what they're doing, see what they're hearing, because those folks aren't probably in the trenches like you are, especially with the news, with Black Virginia News. So I'm going to tell you to stay right where you are.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. I enjoy the rest of our discussion today.
Well, wonderful. Lauren, thank you so much. And don't forget to put all of your information in the chat so that we can get everybody reading Black Virginia News, because it is the place to discuss the undiscussable. So we're going to get there. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Robbin, we're going to bring up Meet Our Moment, and we're going to chat a little bit about what's happening with Jay Jones, the founder of Meet Our Moment, and our guests. So we're going to bring them all up, and we're going to have a conversation. Here they come. Hi, Ray. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Sonia, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. This is two alumni from Meet Our Moment. It's the organization that Jay founded. There he is. Hi, Jay, the Honorable Jay Jones, former delegate, who is the founder of Meet Our Moment. I'm going to give you just a few minutes to just sort of talk about Meet Our Moment, but I really want to talk to Ray and Sonia, because as graduates and as a city council member now and running for House of Delegates, we want to chat with them.
Stair, please make Jay a co-host.
And we're going to unmute him. Okay.
You guys don't want to hear me talk. I understand.
Yes,
well, good afternoon, everybody. It is a pleasure to be back with you on Network Nova on the Friday Power Lunch. This is probably my fourth or fifth time back. So, I appreciate you letting me continue to darken your doorway or darken your Zoom screen. But I am back to talk about Meet Our Moment, which is an organization that I founded in the summer of 2021, which aims to recruit and train minority and female candidates for state and local office. If you guys are like me, you are sick and tired of being sick and tired with Republican representation in Richmond and Republican representation at the lower levels of government here in our state. And so I decided to do something about it. I think when we started it, people thought we were a little crazy, but I'm here to tell you that the program works, and the folks who I've brought along with me today are proof positive of that. It is a one-day training, a sort of soup to nuts candidate boot camp. You get a little finance presentation, you get an overview of what it's like to be a candidate. We talk about mail, we talk about building a field program, we talk about communications. And then at the end, we have a panel with other like-minded local and state elected officials, those who have run, who have won, some who have not been successful, because we want to give our candidates a full idea of what it's like to go through the ringer and to be a woman candidate, to be a Black candidate, to be an AAPI candidate. It is very different. And I think Sonia and Ray will tell you that those experiences are different. We've had 3 training sessions so far. We did our first one in December of 2021, our second in April of 2022, and that's where Sonia and Ray came through our program. We did one in Prince William back in December, and I'm excited to share with you guys. Our 4th session will be in Norfolk on March 25th. That's a Saturday. And so this program is working. We've had 35 alumni come through, 15 of them have run or are running for state and local office. Sonia, who is here with us, is our first victor. She is now a council member in the city of Manassas up in Northern Virginia, and I can guarantee you all today that we will have others who will be in the House of Delegates, who will be on the boards of supervisors, who will be on city council come 2023 and beyond. Because again, this program is working and it's winning because we're recruiting the right people. And I think our training program is incredibly efficient and it's incredibly beneficial. And with that, I'm going to drop a link in the chat to a video that kind of sums up what this organization is all about. And I'll put some other information in the chat as well. But I think you guys are better off hearing from products of our project, because they, I think, are emblematic of not only what it takes to be a great candidate, but the future of Virginia politics too.
Thank you, Jay. That is awesome. I am so excited. So March, maybe I can peek my head in and see what's going on there.
Come on down.
I will. So I'm going to start with Sonia, because I think it's so fantastic. So you were sworn in January 3rd. So I want to hear a little bit about the program and then how you felt it prepared you to run and now to actually be sitting in office.
Oh, awesome. First, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. And I want to shout out to my mayor, the best mayor, Michelle Davis Younger. She's here, and also one of the fellow council members, Thomasina. So I just want to make sure I say hi. But I would say, it's been, less than 2 months, but I had so much help. I think, it's been so helpful to see how people come together and support you in the dream. I'm the first ever Hispanic person elected. So it is a big change. I can tell you that when I went to the training, it was blunt, it was great, it was full of information, and it made me a better candidate. It made me understand so many things that by then I had been running for a little bit, but it was like an eye-opening. So I'm so blessed that I had gone through the training right before my primary. I had a full primary, and then I had my general election. So it is an honor to be serving. Manassas City is turning 150, so everybody's invited on April 1st to our birthday. But also, as the first Latina where the population is 42%, I'm also the only other council member, female of color. So to me, it was very important that we have our voice as a female and also as a minority.
Wonderful. That is awesome. I'm going to come back to you. I have a few more questions and we'll just have a discussion about it. But Ray, you are actually running in Richmond in a House Delegate 79th District, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the program and let's talk about how prepared you feel because of the program.
Okay, so I'll say at the beginning of last year, I learned about this, new district that opened up here in the city of Richmond, the 79th. And it's weird because at the top of the call, you mentioned Darius Clark representing the 79th when she currently does. It's in Hampton Roads, but now it's up in Richmond. It's a completely open seat. And so when I first, started researching last year how to run a campaign, I couldn't really find resources that, compiled everything into just one presentation. And so, I was getting like bits and pieces and trying to put those together myself. And so when I heard about Meet Our Moment, I was, more than excited to participate in the program. And it really was a realistic crash course, sort of one-stop shop with advice on running a successful campaign. And so, I'm really glad that I did it. I think coming out of the program as well, just meeting all of the people who participated, we call them cohorts, who looked like me and who, were all motivated to make a change in our communities, it was inspiring in and of itself. And so some of the relationships that I've gained out of the program have also been awesome, along with Jay's continued support. So Jay, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for even starting Meet Our Moment. I think the work that you're doing is just so important and it's free.
and I was going to jump in, and Ray made a point that I think is really, really important.
Sure.
And again, I'm so proud of these two young women. We have, again, 35 alums, all women or people of color from every part of Virginia. If you guys know Tasia Devon, who ran for Congress last year, she is an alum of Meet Our Moment. We hit every single corner of this Commonwealth, but it is free. It is really important to me to make sure that it remains free for people to participate, because for far too long, money has been a barrier for good people to get into politics, to run for office. And so I raise money for this organization. Every dime goes right back into it so that participants can come, and we put you up in a hotel if you're coming from out of town. We give everybody free headshots, professional headshots. Ray, I don't know if you're using your headshots, but we do it.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared that day.
Yeah, we feed everyone. I mean, it's really, really important to me that people understand that this program is not a vanity project for Jay Jones. I am not getting any money out of this. I get on the road and I go stump for this organization to try to recruit folks. And I'm so happy that I have a little cohort of people who I think believe in this organization now because they see the efficacy of it. And I'm so proud of that. We're all 2 years in and going on our fourth session, and we're really only just getting started.
Yeah, I think it's really important. This is something that I want to bring up, and I want to ask Ray specifically about this. And Sonia, you may have thoughts too. And that is, what people don't realize sometimes is that women, and particularly women of color, have a much more difficult time entering this space and also raising money. So I want to hear a little bit about how you guys feel about that and how you sort of work to overcome that challenge. And Jay, you can jump in too if you have thoughts on it. So Sonia, you want to start, and then Ray, you can jump in.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great. So it is a little bit difficult. For me, I have been in the union for many, many years. I'm a business manager of a union for 18 years in La Yuna with the laborers. So those relationships that I had for many years were the ones that became a key. And actually, I made history on being the top, fundraiser for Manassas. So I'm really happy to do that. But I can tell you, in the one-to-one, it's difficult. There were people that are always there supporting the candidates, but it takes a little bit more to raise the money.
Yeah, Ray.
I would say for me, it has been challenging. One of the great things that I appreciated about Meet Our Moment was the fundraising, the focus on fundraising and actually practicing doing call time. So for me, I attended William & Mary for undergrad. I went to Howard University for law school. And so I've been relying a lot on those networks. In terms of my family, my family is a lot like other Black families based on where we started as a people who just haven't really had a lot of opportunity to build wealth. And so, that's something that I would like to focus on when I'm elected, is how do we create economic justice, economic opportunity, so that more of us can step up in this space and run. Also, I was raised to be independent and to work hard. And so for me, it's been very difficult to ask for money. And so I just have to remind myself that I'm not asking for it personally. I'm asking for it to get my message out there and to be elected to represent my community and affect change in my community.
Sure.
So yeah, but I felt prepared coming out of Meet Our Moment. Like I knew it was not going to be a cakewalk, that it would be challenging, it would be difficult. And so I've just been forcing myself to sit down and do the work there to fundraise.
We don't scare them. I promise.
Yeah.
Part of the whole thing is to give everybody a true window into what it's like to be a female candidate or a candidate of color. It's a different experience. And I see my brother Josh Cole is on this as well. And I know he's going to be talking to you guys a little bit later. But he came and spoke to our group in Manassas back in December. And, he's someone who I've gotten to know over the last 6 or 7 years, who's become like family to me. And it's something that we had talked about before 2021. And so to see this come to fruition is really important. But raising money as a candidate of color, as a female candidate, is really hard, right? I went through it not only running for the House of Delegates, but running for Attorney General against an incumbent, which, I think competition is good. But to have to justify myself or my accomplishments in a different way, calling someone and seeing a white colleague get $500 after 10 seconds, and I have to spend an hour on there just to get 100 is a challenging thing. And it's something that people don't talk about out loud. And so what we want to do is we want to have honest and open conversations and give our candidates an idea of what they're getting into. And I will say, not everybody who comes to our program ends up running for office. We give people an idea of what it's like, because maybe you say, maybe it's better for me to be a donor or to be an activist or to be a staff member, because I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if I have the opportunity to do this in this particular moment in my area, but we want people to be ready because you might not run in 2022 or 2023 like these wonderful ladies, but it might be 24, it might be 25, who knows? But we want people to be ready and prepared with all of the tools and information at their disposal to go out there and not only run, but win.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, thank you so much. We are so proud of the work that you're doing. Sonia, congratulations. Ray, good luck to you. Just keep doing the work. I just couldn't be more proud and thankful, and I'm sure everybody else is too. Katherine, did you want to add something before I went away?
Very inspirational. Love seeing that Jay helping build this bench. And I see in the chat, some people are like, we need candidates this way and that way. I know we still have seats that need to be filled. So we hope that you'll be looking at those seats and filling them up. So that'd be great.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll put the information in the chat one more time before I have to jump off, because I got that baby who's down the hall.
That baby in the back that needs you. It's okay.
That's right. That's right. He's 8 months old now. It's crazy, but I just want to say thank you again for you guys and to all of you for what you do for supporting people of color and women across the state. You got to meet Sonia Vasquez Luna today, and you got to meet RAE Cousins. This is not the last time you will be hearing from them, I promise you. And there are so many more folks who have come through the program who are just like them. And I can't tell you how proud I am to be a part of building something that's going to help us take back the House of Delegates here in 2023, deliver Virginia for Joe Biden in 2024, and then take back our statewide offices, God willing, in 2025. Because like I said, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I know you guys are with me, and I appreciate you guys. And we will see you guys very, very soon.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for 2 great segments, so exciting. And I want to make sure before we move on to our next segment is to call out and shout out to, and just if you look around the room, I'm put myself on gallery. I see so many candidates in the room, and we always like to make sure that people know this is a great place to come for support. This is how we build our family together, because it's so important. In the end, if you're running in a primary against somebody and you don't win, we're still one team, one family. And like Jay said, this is how we get stronger. These contests and primaries that some people may not like, they get kind of sometimes messy. And with redistricting, oh boy, we're gonna need like a mop. It's been crazy just to figure out, who's who. I just wanted to say thank you to the candidates that showed up. And if you want to, just wave to everybody if you are running. And also I see people from California. Joanne Lulan is here. She's helped us with a lot of stuff prior in work. So I'm so glad to see people. Wendy Jones is here again. And I'm just so happy to see people back in the room. So when we're talking about teamwork, I'd like to bring up first Joshua Cole, because Josh ran, he was our delegate in 28, grew up in 28, and just want to talk to you real quick first, because we're gonna have a little fun. I don't know if you're watching the Super Bowl this weekend, Josh.
Maybe.
Well, we're talking about teamwork. Let's launch a poll. Let's see in the room. Let's see who I think it's Super Bowl 57. Let's see if we have any Eagles or Kansas City Chiefs in the room. Who are you rooting for this weekend? And if you want to put in the chat, who do you think is who's doing this halftime performance? Let's see if our activists, or maybe you're canvassing, you don't give a shit. You know what I mean? That's okay. But what I wanted to do is get us thinking, Josh, about teamwork. And you're here with your Spotsylvania team and crew, and we want to, we know there's a lot of people running, a lot of people in these races that are actually in some of these seats. But what drew us to you, and the others will bring up on the screen, is how you're kind of viewing how you want to work together, how you view actually when you are starting to put your hat in the ring. So give us a little idea what that means to you about teamwork or your race, and say hello to everybody and tell them what you are doing and how you feel about teamwork.
Awesome. Well, hey, everyone. I am so excited to be back here on the Friday Power Lunch. I am former Delegate Joshua Cole. I am running for the brand new 65th District, a new blue district centered in the city of Fredericksburg. We are so excited to get started. But what I love telling everybody is it does no good for me to get elected if I don't have some partners and some support on all levels of government. I'm excited that last year we sent Abigail Spanberger to Congress. So now, for the first time in over 40 years, the Fredericksburg region is represented by a Democrat in Congress. I'm excited to get back in to fight for the people of the Commonwealth here in Fredericksburg. But I also need a good senator over on the other side who's going to help fight for the same change I'm fighting for. Once we do that, we also need to have good partners on the Board of Supervisors, on City Council, and the school board. And I don't have to tell you what's been going on in Spotsylvania County with the school board, because I'm sure you've been reading about it or seeing about it in the news. And so the good news is,
sorry, Josh.
So the good news for Spotsylvania is we're only one seat away from a majority of changing the trajectory of how Spotsylvania schools are being handled right now. And so we have one excellent member of the school board, Dr. Rita Daniels, who's running for re-election. We want to make sure that we send her back. We have one seat that we need to flip, which we have Carol MEDAWAR, who is now running. And we have another seat that we have to defend that we're hoping to have a new candidate run there. And so we're partnering together, starting with the state Senate with Ben Litchfield. We're partnering with the House of Delegates here. And then we're starting with the school board and the board of supervisors in Spotsylvania County to make sure that we are building our cohesiveness, that we're coming together with a coordination, and that we're running excellent qualified candidates who can represent our people well on all the levels in Spotsylvania County.
Woo, you said it, and we brought our team up. And speaking of teams, it looks like we have more Philly fans in the room than Kansas Chiefs. And I also want to say it'll be a historic moment. We'll have in that Super Bowl the first time 2 Black quarterbacks playing against each other. So that's very interesting. Anyways, just wanted to put that little trivia pursuit out there. So Dr. Rita Daniels, let's start with you because school board, you're serving right now and you've thrown your hat back in the ring. My goodness, my friend, it's been tough down there. But let's start with you first. Talk about your race briefly, because we're really wanting to also talk about your philosophy of teamwork as well. So welcome back, Rita. Great to see you.
Thank you so much, Katherine, for having me this afternoon. Again, as a current school board member, I'm reminded daily that we can do better for our kids, for our families, and for the communities that houses our children. As we've already said, within the past few years, we've been inundated with negativity about many of the school boards across the entire country, including ours. And so as a result, we haven't really focused on the work that needs to get done for our children. So we're fighting amongst each other and we're trying to push an agenda that may not be in the best interest of our children. So this is unfortunate because at the end of the day, our children are losing out. There's so much work to be done. And this is why I'm running again, because for instance, we think about those kids who get into trouble on a weekly basis and is sent to the office as a result. Why? Because teachers may be too busy in the classrooms and that's above the class ratio and didn't have time to connect with that child. And when we also think about the kid who's struggling with passing classes, why? Because they may not have been able to afford a tutor according to their learning style that can help them with passing the course, right? And then we also think about those kids who excel in high school, but guess what? They're not prepared. They have no plan prepared while they're in high school. Because why? Because there may not be enough support there because our counselors are focusing on other things that are happening in the school. So this is why I'm still in the fight, because I still feel we have so much work to do. And I'm supportive of anyone that comes on the school board that's running for office that also are continuing this fight, because there's so much work to be done.
Let me ask you a question. You won your first race and now you're running again. Are you in the same district or has it switched a little bit, or your same constituents overall, or what does it look like now that you're running with the overlap with this group?
Yes, I do. I do overlap with Ben Litchfield, who's currently running for Senate right now. So we do overlap in a sense, but I did pick up one community. So I'm having to now introduce myself to that community as well. But for the most part, I kept my constituency. And so I'm excited about that, but I will have to go meet some new ones.
Yeah. I think with redistricting, you're all in that struggle, in that struggle in a way. And I want to bring up next, and thank you, Rita, everybody hold tight, because I want to talk about how you're all going to kind of look at this from the local working together. But Carol, I'm excited to have you back. You just have you're a lifelong learner, and you say on your website, a lifelong educator. I mean, you have such an extensive background in education. I mean, these are the kind of people you want to see on the Virginia Board of Education, for instance, right? That really have credentials like yourself. And so tell us about your race. You've tried to run a couple times, I think. Is that right, Carol?
That is true. I have run previously when I was living in Stafford. I ran there, and now I live in Spotsylvania. I had lived in Spotsylvania previously, and I'm running in Spotsylvania. Definitely one of the reasons that I want to run is just to work with amazing people like Rita and Ben and Josh, and Megan Jackson is also running in another district in Spotsylvania, and she's on the call today too. So I just want to call them all out. It makes it so much more fun and less work and less scary, I think, to put yourself out there in the times that we live in right now, which can be a little scary to put yourself out there in. It just makes it a little bit more, more fun and more reasonable to do when you're working together. And so I was super excited when I knew that it was going to be Josh and Ben. And so as the delegate candidate and as the Senate candidate. And so that just made my decision that much easier.
Just feels like family. So, and it is something I have to say that I, worried that I'm seeing that we're not filling some of the school board. I hope that changes because we know some people are then running for a higher seat, have left that seat. So with you come in and your extensive background, I just feel like you're kind of battle tested for all of this kind of stuff that could be coming at you. Are you feeling pretty confident about your race? I mean, is anybody running against you, or are you just you think you don't have to worry?
Well, I would love to think that they won't run someone against me, but I know better. There isn't someone filed just yet, but that does not mean that it's not coming. We're in a really, oh gosh, I don't know. If you get the local news, Spotsylvania County School Board meetings have just gone awry. What is happening here is just unbelievable. You can't make this stuff up. The sheriff will no longer provide security because they felt like they were being put in a terrible situation when asked by the board chair to throw people out of the meeting, when they were really just there expressing their personal opinions. And so it's just gotten to be completely crazy. You mentioned experience. I think experience in education matters. I think you want champions of public education on our school boards. And so we have people right now on our school boards that don't even believe in public education, and that makes no sense to me. The first thing they did was fire a superintendent that was the state superintendent of the year. They fired him on their first meeting with the majority and brought in someone who has absolutely no background and experience in education. So when I say that it's dire here in Spotsylvania and that it's really so important, but across the state, please pay attention. There are so many wonderful advocates on this call, and I love seeing those people with the orange. Honestly, when I met you guys, 2018 back at the Network Nova event, I think it was, I literally, you guys made me want to move to Northern Virginia just to hang out with you because you're such cool folks. So thanks for all you do.
Well, it's great. And we'll jump over to Ben, but I went down to Spotsylvania for the Fredericksburg when the Dem party came around to do their little dog and pony show, and they talked about what happened in that race. So I did travel all the way down there, and it was great meeting some of the local people there, but it was fun listening. So Ben,
we'll have you anytime. Come on down.
It's not that far for us to go down the country. It's only 37 miles south, and they have some, right? So Benjamin Litchfield, let's get to you. I mean, throwing your hat in the ring also for Senate. And I do know, again, that we know that you're not the only person in the race, and that's okay. We're really, really trying to drill down on what got you to run and also how you're working together with this team. Now, not your other part of the team, you didn't grow up in Virginia. You're from Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Yes, I am. I am.
But you can throw down with these Virginia crews. So let's talk about you, Ben.
Sure. So hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on the Friday Power Lunch. I'm Ben Litchfield. I'm one of the Democratic candidates running for state Senate in a newly created seat here centered around Fredericksburg. I was the Stafford County Democratic Committee chair for 4 years. I worked with Josh to get him elected. I worked with Carol. I was a big supporter of soon to be Dr. MEDAWAR when she ran for school board. And sort of my mentality running the state Senate race is informed by my time as SDC chair. I know how difficult it is for down ballot candidates to get support. We had the coordinated campaign when they came in, they always had volunteer asks, money that you needed to pay to buy in. And so our down ballot candidates didn't get the attention that they needed. And quite frankly, as a former party chair, I was sick of it. I was sick and tired of watching, good people like Carol not get the door knockers they need, or have to come up with, or folks like Chair Pam Young, who's the first Black woman to be the chair of the Stafford County Board of Supervisors, not get the support that she needed to run her truly transformational race. And so I said, all right, I'm going to run for Senate. I'm going to be the top of the ticket, and I'm going to set the tone for how we're going to coordinate these races. I invested early in Spotsylvania because I have a 9-year-old nephew who's autistic, and I helped take care of him during the pandemic. And let me tell you, that was not a pleasant experience for me. Trying to get him to the services he needed was a fight. Dr. Daniels was instrumental in that. I will always thank Rita for her help, but there were challenges, and I was furious with the nonsense and the drama from the school board. They, not to get into the weeds too much, but it was just frustrating. It was very frustrating. And so I threw my hat in the ring. I had been in politics for a long time, and I said, this is the right time. This is the right seat. Everything just sort of came together from there.
What I'm really want to drill down in the last couple minutes here is what you said, is that we're looking at this local view, and with all the candidates in here, I really believe that this is how we strategize, and the tactics we use of working together, looking at like who's in your district, especially after the primary is over. If we build these relationships now and these networks, no one is going to come and run your campaign, right? No one is going to say, hey, are you carrying Josh's, the overlaps, or Rita? It's going to be up to you all to coordinate. And I think no one, like we always said at the beginning of the segment, when I said no one's coming to save us or do the work of it, don't wait for the Dem Party or other people to parachute in. You're going to have to do it. And let's talk about that. I don't know if who wants to pick up on that and how you're going to do it now. I don't know if Ben, you want to start, maybe Josh, Rita, and Carol could just weigh in.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I can jump in and talk about what we've been doing.
Yes.
So I've been launching canvases from Carol's house every weekend, and we've been knocking doors in Spotsylvania, getting signatures for all of the school board candidates. We've collected signatures for Balin Rodas in Chancellor, for Carol in Cortland, for Dr. Daniels in Salem, and that's going to continue. It's going to keep going. We're going to once everybody has their signatures, we're transitioning to door knocking with literature. Same thing for the Board of Supervisors candidates once they announce and file. So I've been running a de facto coordinated campaign for about 6 to 8 months now, and that's going to continue.
I love it. And yeah, anybody else want to weigh in? I mean, Carol, Rita, providing the house some Super Bowl chips, maybe Sunday. What's going on? Who wants to?
I'll weigh in here if Josh, if he doesn't want to go right now. I'll appreciate it. I had an opportunity to talk with Ben one-on-one, and Carol, I knew her when she ran in Stafford. And so just keeping that collaboration going is so important for our races right now. And so I'm going to continue to reach out when I need help. And I did that 4 years ago too, as well, Katherine. So I'm just going to continue that momentum, because I do believe it's important to collaborate one-on-one and then also collaborate in a team environment as well.
I love it. Carol.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this work is so much better when you put your heads together and you start to think about strategy, and you're working in the same areas and overlap and things like that. If, we've got to reach out to organizations like yours, that have a lot of committed individuals. And if we're all kind of like coming together and saying, thinking about this, I just love that you had us on all together as well, because we're all focused, similarly on those same things. And so if people can, reach out to help one of us, they sort of help all of us. Like Ben said, they're doing campaign launches for my house. I've told all of them, make sure that we have your information, that we can tell people and volunteers about you when they're here. And, we've sort of returned the same favor. I think that just our community really wants us to work together, and more than anything. So it's great for us to talk about how to do this to win a race, but I think the bigger picture really is their community is tired of the divisiveness and the rhetoric and everybody being against everybody, and really wants to see the unity in community and wants us to come together. And I think, you know, we've kind of gotten exhausted because there's always the next case in Virginia. But I think that idea of coming together and working together is what our community really wants to see.
I love the unity and community. Mark that. We know that that's what we call a nice takeaway, because it's true. And I think that you can also in real time, you can also share if you see something going on, something you can address, and maybe even in your own way do messaging together that gets out a message that sort of pushes back against some kind of disinformation or misinformation that may come out. So I think there's a lot of cool things happening here. We're up to the hour, so I want to say thank you. And I think we lost Josh. Did he come back, Robbin? What do we got?
He had to turn off his camera, and so
he had to turn off. So we know what Josh would have said. Yes, unity, community. The pastor would have that last word for us.
I can tell you, Josh would have said, "Tell Lottie Dottie and everybody." That's Josh's line. So we'll put that plug in for Josh. Tell Lottie Dottie and everybody.
Lottie Dottie and everybody, get busy. And you know exactly that, Carol. Thank you everybody for coming today. This is a great segment, and what a great show. I want to do we're going to wrap it on up. Before I do, I want to make sure that if you haven't got a chance to support our show, go ahead and throw some little chips in our Patreon. You can sign up to be a subscriber, and you can see in the room who is. They have the backgrounds on, so we thank you for that. Also, follow us on social media and all that good stuff, and you will get a recap email after this that will tell you. You won't have to remember everything that went in that chat. We'll take out all that. Stair and Robbin will make sure it's ready to go, and then this show will be back up on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube if you haven't. And I want to say thank you to the crew that does this show every week. Robbin Warner, Show Wizard, Stair Calhoun, Ambassador Buzz. Hello, friend up there. I'll see you tonight at the Temerity's Addison's big show on poetry. Maybe you want to put that link in there. If you all want to come out, have some fun in Alexandria, we're going to see some good poetry tonight. Heidi Dragneff, social media diva. Thank you, Heidi, for everything you do. And Denis Orsinger, probably putting calls to action in. Visit the Virginia Coalition website. You just won't get enough of that website. If you just should have that on your screen, in your computer, just bookmarked. The coalition has everything you need to be active in Virginia in politics. Michelle McKinney, thank you. She's our chat liaison. And if you're new to the room, you can reach out to Michelle to find out, what makes us tick and how you can participate in the room. And also our content concierge extraordinaires, Julie Galdo. Hello, Julie, always with the great lipstick. Alvina McKell, thank you for helping me with this week's graphic, Alvina. And Sally Renholt, always keeping us true. So see you on the other side. Stay for the after chat if you can, and we'll see you next week. We always have a great show. Robbin, who do we have coming next week? Remind me. We're still working on it.
It's all about primaries. We're going to have Joe Romance, who wrote a brand new book about primaries. We'll be talking about ranked choice voting. It's going to be a great show.
Who doesn't want to learn about Joe Romance and primaries? It sounds very sexy. I can't wait. So I'll see you on the side. Roll credits, and I think that's all I got to say.